Well, hello everybody, and if you are just joining us, your timing is impeccable. Our countdown to green on IMSA Radio has finished, and we are linked up with sound and vision, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV, working seamlessly across the world for those of you outside the US. Good to have your company, and hopefully you are ready for a cracking race. Jeremy Shaw, we are in the middle of Florida, Sebring International Raceway, in the central part of Florida. 3 3/4 miles, got a great history, this place. When you see names as well as numbers, Fangio, Collier, Bishop, Jean de Bian, Ullman Strait, all great names from the history of this place and from motor racing. Sunset is turned 17. We might not get to see too much of that today with the overcast, but a 3 3/4 mile blast around this circuit. The hashtag here has always been respect the bumps. Two classes, championships up for grabs. Tyler McQuarrie in the 39 Audi on pole position, Jeremy, and really looking for a bit of redemption after the last time out.
Well, absolutely. You know, it was 2 races ago that they had the redemption from. They got that last time out at their home track in California, and so they'll be looking for another win here. I mean, that car is fast here. It was on the pole, won the race here in July this season, also won here last year as well. So we know the Audi is super fast around here. We know that Tyler McQuarrie and Jeff Westphal are fast. That's why they won the championship last season, and they're going for broke here. They want to win another race and hope maybe the cars will fall their way and perhaps get a second championship for that car barn Autosport with Peregrine Racing team.
Let's see how quickly Jeremy can run down the grid, from the back to the front if you wish, or from the front to the back. I don't really mind, Jeremy, but you've got the rest of the second formation lap to do it. Where would you like to start?
We'll start at the back. We're going to have 36 cars in this race, 24 in GS and 12 in TCR. Starting in the 18th row, Brian Henderson in car number 84, alongside Gino Manley in car number 85. Row 17, Gavin Ernst in car number 61, and Taylor Hagler, car number 77. Row 16, number 91, making his debut in the championship is youngster Rory van der Steur in car number 91, alongside another youngster, 16 years of age, Tyler Gonzalez, car number 27. In the 15th row, Spencer Brockman, car number 29, alongside Max Faulkner, car number 23. The second row in TCR, Mason Filippi in car number 98, and Ryan Block in the Alfa Romeo, car number 5. The front row, Ryan Norman, the championship leader in car number 33. And the pole sitter for the third time this season is Harry Gottsacker in car number 21 for Van Herder Autosport with Kerbagger Janian. Moving on to GS, Sean Quinlan will start number 43 BMW from 24th position, alongside Samir Gandhi, car number 93. Frank Gannett in car number 24 and Vin Barletta, car number 96, will share row 11. Row 10 is Anton Diaz-Pereira in car number 10, alongside Tim Probert in car number 65. Gary Ferrara in number 99 is in the 18th position, alongside Dr. Rabin Abdul-Vahabi in the sister automatic race to Aston Martin, car number 09. Row 8, Tom Collingwood, number 38 BGB Porsche, alongside James Pezek in car number 40. James Clay will start in the 14th position, car number 82, alongside Jeff Mosing in car number 56. Alan Brindley Olsen in car number 7 in the 12th position, alongside Nick Galante in car number 80. Sheena Monk starts inside the top 10 in the number 3 Motorsports Action McLaren, alongside Frank Depew, his best ever qualifying run in the Rebel Rock Racing Chevrolet, car number 71. Jim Cox, local driver, in car number 35, will start 8th, alongside Russell Ward in car number 4, who's out-qualified by his father, Bryce, in car number 57. Bryce will start 6th in that car number 57. Brilliant effort by him. Nate Stacey, the championship leader, will start in the 5th position in car number 60. Row 2, Jayden Conrad. That brilliant run by the young Californian in the M1 Racing Porsche 718 Cayman, that's car number 20, alongside Marco Signoretti, a youngster from Canada in a Multimatic Ford, car number 22. On the front row of the grid, making his debut this season, I should say, for the Turner Motorsport BMW team in car number 95, filling in for the absent Bill Oberlin is Cameron Lawrence, but on the pole position for the 4th time this season, the 7th in total. That is car number 39, the car barn with Peregrine Racing Audi R8 GT4. The pole sitter is Tyler McQuarrie.
Take a breath, Jeremy Shaw. Brilliant stuff. Well done. 2 hours on the clock. We're ready to go for the Alan J Automotive Network 120, the season finale of the 2020 IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Oh, there's a touch at the very front on the front row between the BMW of Turner and the car barn with Peregrine Racing Audi as we come to the green flag for the final time in the 2020 season. And the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge is underway. Fabulous jump from Macquarie from pole position, immediately pulls onto the racing line. And it's Signoretti in the Multimatic Motorsports Mustang who makes the move down the inside. And the Canadian, with the very racing driver name, dives down and just doesn't quite get second position, but he's going to have another look as he goes into turn 3. We've also already had one of the Hyundais turned around. That's the 29 car that has gone around the white and green machine. So that was a schmozzle right at the very start of the race at turn 1, and that car facing the wrong direction. But the Brian Herd Autosport with Kerbagajanian car has got pointed in the right direction for Spencer Brockman, who will rejoin right at the back of the field. Looks like Russell Ward got round his dad early on in the race, should I say. That's the two AMG GT4s of Winward Racing. Bryson Russell was 6th and 7th. I think I just saw Russell ahead of his dad. Yes, I did. The dark car is now in the lead. That's Russell, and he's right up the tailpipes of the Aston Martin ahead. That was Hyundai on Hyundai in the middle of the pack there. And who was it that got into the back? Oh, it was the 98 car that.
Probably Rory van der Steur, actually, in car number 91, who got into the back of Spencer Brockman. He'd started right behind him on the grid, the kind of favourite from my perspective, John. But what a brilliant start by. There is number 98 car that has problems again. That's that was
the car that slammed into the right-hand side of the other car, definitely. Jeremy, and I think he's going to have some right-hand front damage on that. There's a lot of vibration going through the steering wheel, and that was right front wheel. He may even have a puncture there. I think he has on the right front. There's certainly some damage, and he has got a puncture, and he's driving too quickly. Is the short answer to that one. Got a good start, very good start, the 98, and then tried to go up the inside into turn 1.
He kind of done it. He started ahead of Spencer Brockman, so must have had a poor start. But he's trying to make it up. He turns a spin, though. That's a wise ball. He goes for a spin. So there's one.
Don't forget, of course, that Mason Filippi will be, in fact, he's already into the pits. Spencer Brockman well off the back of the field and is just coming onto the start-finish line now. But remember, the pits are on the Ullman straight. So did Bryce get a little dunch? He did, and that was the Camaro, the Rebel Rock Racing car, that had the gentleman's, excuse me, into turn 1. New right front tyre going on to the eggshell blue 98, but they were having a good look to see if there was any suspension damage there, and they'll be checking that out again because that was a significant side-to-side impact. And of course the front wheels stick out a little bit at the bottom. That's what you call camber, helps the cars turn, and that may well have caught and damaged, Jeremy, the steering or the suspension on the right front of that number 98 car.
Yeah, that's it. And yet another disastrous first corner for the number 98 team. They're out of the race last time out. Hopefully they can get this car back going again, but it doesn't look good, does it? That was another disastrous. I don't know what happened there because he started in the fourth position in the class with Spencer Brockman behind him. It looks like it was the front of the number 98 car that's got the problem. After that contact at turn 1.
I think he was a bit snoozing a bit off the start because he was making his way back up the inside. Spencer Brockman had gone round, or was coming round the outside of him, and that's when the impact occurred at turn 1. It is being looked at. It's under review from race control, and it has now been reviewed. No further action is the word from race control. Across the line, the number 39 Audi, the black and green car, with a decent lead. How decent? How about 4 seconds to the field, which is headed by Cameron Lawrence in the Turner Motorsport BMW GT4, who's got a second and a half on the Multimatic Ford Mustang. What an opening couple of laps by Tyler McCurry. Jeremy Shaw, he's lit the afterburners.
Yeah, this is now this is a race for second place, because the Audi was a second clear in qualifying. It won from the pole here in July. It's just going to disappear in the distance. I think we could pretty much forget about that car. Sorry, chaps. But the battle is going to go on behind him. A really good effort there by Cameron Lawrence, just filling in for Bill Oberlin this weekend. So he's driven this car before, but not for quite a long time, and he has settled into it very, very nicely indeed. Cameron, I think, was driving primarily this year in Trans Am amongst other cars, so he's used to cars with lots of horsepower, probably more horsepower than this car here, but he's running beautifully in second position ahead of Marco Signoretti. Really good effort by the young Canadian, making just his second start in this championship. He made his debut at Daytona earlier in the year, which I think primarily due to the quarantine restrictions with problems in travelling between Canada and the US. Hasn't been able to make another race until now, but he's certainly showing a lot of speed. And Marco Signoretti, he lives, one of his near neighbours is David Embringham, who's one of the most successful Canadian drivers outside of Formula One, let's say. But certainly he's won championships in the Junior Open Wheel Series. A really talented guy, long time as a driver coach as well. He brought Marco Signoretti to the notice of the Multimatic team. He's doing a great job here in third place, just ahead of that little Porsche Cayman with Jayden Conrad, the youngster from Fremont in California, just 21 years of age as Jayden. He's making his debut this weekend.
That's Jeremy Shaw. He's with me, socially distanced, of course, in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre. I promise you we're more than 6 feet apart at the moment, which is because Jeremy is nowhere near. Shea Adam is in the pit and paddock for us, BP Racing Fuel reporter, and a great gaggle of cars battling behind Signoretti. There's Jayden Conrad next, Stacey. Russell Ward's got onto the back of that as well. So that's Mustang, then Cayman, then Vantage, and then AMG GT4. Brilliant. 4 different manufacturers battling for those places. And Shea Adam has, let me get my words out, difficult for me to talk normally at the best of times when I'm this excited for the final round of the Michelin Pilot Series. 2 more pit callers for you to have a look at in the pit lane, and more right front examinations going on, Shea.
And they're both Hyundais as well. We've got the 27, which is Copeland Motorsport. That's the Tyler's car that was so impressive when they made their debut at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta back before the 6 hours, so a couple months ago now. And also the Vanderster Racing. This is a new team running Rory Vanderster, who started the car. They are looking at the right front and underneath the car, and Danny Formal set to take over a little bit later on. But there was a right front suspension change going on to the 98, so there was a bit of damage there. I believe I saw a bent A-arm coming off that car.
Yeah, and the number 98 car as well, by the way. They were looking very carefully at the suspension and doing some work again on that right front. The incident involving Bryce Ward in the 57 Winwood car, the 71 Frank Depew Camaro, under review, and we'll get that to you at the moment. Shea has a definitive call on the number 98 Hyundai involved in that first lap incident, for which there was no further action. Shea?
It's a lower control arm that's buckled on the 98, so that's what they're changing. That car is still in the pit lane. Mason Filippi's still in the car. Not the easiest job in the world, but not one of the hardest. No, but it's going to be a test session from now on, isn't it? They're losing laps every 2.5 minutes in the TCR category. Cross the line, another cracking lap for Tyler McQuarrie. That is a 2:13.326. That's the fastest lap of the race, and he's lead now, Jeremy Shaw, over 5 seconds.
Yeah, he's just checking out. He's pulling away at a second a lap, or has been up until this last lap. He's going to be awfully tough to beat. Is that Audi, that number 98 car, the problem, that's the car that's second in the championship points coming into this weekend. Michael Lewis, of course, won the championship last season with a different co-driver, Mark Wilkins, looking for his second straight title here with Mason Philippi, but it's all gone wrong in that first lap, and that's going to pretty much put them out of contention. And that means that Ryan Norman, who's driving the number 33 car is now looking good. He's in the lead of this race and has a championship points lead already.
Thank you, Jeremy. So the Audi leading out from a BMW in second, then Ford, Mustang, Porsche, Aston in close company. Then a bit of a gap back to, no, Russell Ward's on the back of that as well. Then a bit of a back to Nick Galante in another BMW. Then it's Riley Motorsports AMG. Then it's Bimmer World, James Clear in the BMW M4. Then it's the Mia Motorsport in Action, Sheena Munkar. That's the McLaren in the top 10 as well. Now, Shea Adam has news of a penalty.
It was the best ever qualifying result for Frank Depew in the Rebel Rock Camaro. Unfortunately, due to that contact with Bryce Ward in turn 1, the 71 will be coming down the pit lane. Incident responsibility for that contact drive-through penalty.
Yeah, he came up the inside into turn 1. He's been driving that car as quick, if not quicker than he ever has this week. Really comfortable with the car, and Frank had a decent start, saw the opportunity, but unfortunately made a misjudgment. By the way, the start has been reviewed, no action. The start was deemed clean. That is standard operational procedure for IMSA, and also hearing as well that we've already lost a car behind the wall.
The Van der Stur TCR car, the Hyundai that they're making their debut, it's already over.
That is a horrible, horrible start to the Michelin Pilot Challenge career. Bad day for Danny Formal. And Jeremy, Frank Depew just out of the pits in the Urban Grid Rebel Rock Camaro. That car fastest in a couple of sessions earlier on.
Yeah, this is a super fast car. Liddell, the quickest, has got quite comfortably. Maybe didn't do very many laps. The quickest in both of the practice sessions. Frank Depew, his previous best qualifying effort was 15th. That was last time out at Untitled Raceway in Laguna Seca a couple of weeks ago. This time in the top 10 for the very first time, in 9th position. But that's after that incident. Now he's going to drop him a long, long way back through the pack. Now is going to make life more difficult for Robin Liddell, who was really perhaps the only guy that can challenge the car we're seeing running out front and pulling away still Tyler McCrory and Jeff Westphal in that car barn with Peregrine Racing Audi car number 39.
Yeah, and ironically, of course, and the Racing Karma gods have spoken on this, he's come out right behind Bryce Ward, who was the car with which he had the whoopsie at turn 1. Now, Bryce is a very sensible driver. He had his best qualifying as well earlier on, or one of his best qualifyings earlier on, out-qualified his son, and they then are running in class 22nd and 23rd behind the bulk of the TCR field, but still, crucially, on the lead lap. The leader just coming down to turn 17, and let me see where they are at the moment. Yeah, they are just coming through to turn 14, the start of the Jean de Bihan bend. So they're about half a lap back as the leader crosses the line right now. Shea, still work going on to at least one of the Hyundais in the pit lane on the back straight.
Well, I couldn't quite figure out why the 21 Copeland Motorsport Hyundai had come in, 27, excuse me. The splitter had come off on the front of the car, so now they're using zip ties to try and secure it back into place. But that's not a good result for that Copeland Motorsport effort.
And zip ties, of course, a smartphone with a light on it and a £10 lump hammer. Those are the most important things you can have, along with gaffer tape as well in an endurance pit lane. Those are the essentials, and if you use all 4 of them, you get added points for the championship. I'm only kidding about that last bit. Somewhere Nick Damon will be very happy to see that zip ties are being employed there, and there will be many more of them, I think, that will be going on to the front of that Hyundai, which remains losing time in the pit lane. At the front of the field, the lead is now over 6 seconds from Tyler McQuarrie to Cameron Lawrence, drafted in at the last moment. Then there's a heck of a battle going on between Signoretti, Conrad, Stacey, Ward and Gallant. They're pretty much together. Signoretti actually has just pulled away from from those guys, a little bit, 0.3 of a second, that's all. And there's a bit of a gap as well behind the Porsche before the Aston Martin, and then Russell Ward and then Galante behind him. And the battling TCRs behind the two recovering cars that ran into each other, Frank Depew and Bryce Ward. Well, Bryce Ward's already cut his way through a number of cars and got ahead of the BGB Motorsports Porsche as well. Frank Depew involved again as he dived down turn one and hasn't really learnt his lesson there, as he was going by the number 23 of Max Faulkner in the Fast MD car. But Max had his wits about him, Jeremy, otherwise there could have been more contact there.
Yeah, and Gavin Ernst took the opportunity there to slip by. But this is the battle for fourth position in TCR. Max Faulkner in car number 23, Gavin Ernst in number 61, and Robert Noaker in car number 84. Yet another youngster, just 16 years of age is Robert. He's already been racing for 3 years, if you can believe it, in the Mazda MX-5 Global Cup Championship. He finished second in that series this season. He won 3 of the races, only missed out on the championship by 4 points. So he's another youngster to watch out for. He had to start at the back. They had some problems in qualifying with that number 84 car, an engine problem which they changed overnight. And Robert Noaker is beginning to move his way through the field in TCR.
As Jeremy Shaw, and mention of the MX-5 Global Cup reminds me that, of course, we'll be seeing those cars on the IMSA weekends again, returning to the IMSA paddock in 2021 with an exciting looking calendar. And delighted to be able to reveal here that we will have coverage on IMSA radio and across the world and the US with no blocks or breaks, uninterrupted commentary and vision as well for those MX-5 Global Cup races in 2021. Delighted that those cars will be back on the IMSA package, and even more excited to know that we'll be talking about them again, both in sound and vision, whether you're here in the US or further afield. Free, live, uninterrupted flag-to-flag coverage of their races next year. So get ready for some more great open-topped MX-5 action. Very much looking forward to that coming back, and we'll have more details about that through the off-season on Midweek Motorsport. 8 o'clock UK, that's 3 o'clock Eastern every Wednesday night over on RS1. Good news for Hyundai followers, we have got the 98 back into the race share.
Hurrah! There are 6 laps down, unfortunately, on the class lead. So a little bit of work for Mason Filippi and for Michael Lewis. I was going to call him Mike Lewis, but no, his name is Michael. But they are still in hope of the championship. They're only 4 points down off the 33. The Hyundai that's leading the way, that would be the red one. So the light blue one's dreams and aspirations of a championship aren't yet done, because Sebring International Raceway decides who wins the race, not any of the drivers out on the track.
The bumps decide, the bumps decide. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, Jeremy just had this in from renowned, and I would say genius, he never would, renowned and genius livery and graphic artist Andy Blackmore. If the Audi wins with Tyler and Jeff, how far down does the Aston have to finish for the Audi to take the championship? Or put it another way, where does the Aston have to finish to be sure of the championship?
10th.
Right, okay, so
in actual fact, they could, because if the number 39 car wins, that will be that car's 3rd win of the season. Nate Stacey and Carl Marcelli have 2 wins already on the season, so they're tied on 2 coming in here. So it'll be 3-2. That'll be the tiebreaker. So they have to finish 1 point ahead. So they need to. So Macquarie and Westphal, if they are 15 points ahead, then that would be good. 11th position is 20 points, and that is 15 less than the number 60 car. So number 60 car needs to finish basically in 10th place to clinch the championship if number 39 car wins.
And if they finish 11th, it goes to the 39 because of the points differentials between 10th and 11th. So there's your answer, Andy. Write that down on a piece of paper and keep it handy next to your computer screen that I'm sure you're watching on at the moment. 26 Celsius in the air, 31 on the track. It's pleasantly warm for the Michelin tyres. 81% humidity, unpleasantly humid if you are in a multi-layer driving suit with your fireproof underwear, with your hands device, your helmet, your balaclava, and the heat of an engine either right in front of you or right behind you. Oh, and by the way, being thrown around on the bumps and having to concentrate to keep a 1,300 kilo or so racing car from throwing you at the scenery every time you try to turn it into a corner. And we've still got 100 minutes of racing to go, and it's Tyler McQuarrie by just on 6 seconds. That lead has stabilised back to the 95 Turner Motorsport in second, and then it's Multimatic with the Mustang in third position, another 2 seconds further back. About 1 second back from that is the Porsche Cayman from M1 Racing LLC. Cracking run from Jayden Conrad. Then Co Motorsports. So Nate Stacey at the moment winning the championship. Whatever happens ahead, at the moment winning the championship for Co Motorsport and Aston Martin. He's got half a second on Russell Ward for Winward Racing in the Mercedes, who's got 7 seconds on the Bimmer Worlds number 80 of Nick Gallant in the BMW M4, and that's your top 7. The top 10, Riley Motorsports for 35 in 8th, and just a 1/10 of a second ahead of Sheena Monk for the Motorsports in Action McLaren. That's the number 3 car in 9th of the top 10, made up with James Clear for Bimmer World, who's about a second further back in another BMW. But at the moment, Jeremy, all's well. If the checkered flag came out now, we would have an Aston Martin team of drivers as the drivers' champions.
That's correct as we stand right now, but that car, it's relatively lonely in terms of the Michelin Pilot Challenge. He's got a few car lengths over the car behind him, which is Russell Ward charging on him. Actually closed that gap a little bit. Nate Stacey's fallen back a bit from Jayden Conrad in the last few laps. You just mentioned Sheena Monk. She's running in the 9th position. Yeah, she's right behind and closing up on with Nick Galanti and Jim Cox, and bringing James Clay and James Pezic with us. So that's a pretty good 5-car battle there: 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Yeah, and then there's a bit of a gap. Alan Brynjolfsson is the last in that line, and then there's a bit of a gap back to the Automatic Racing 09 car. In fact, both the Automatic Racing cars together, the 09 and the 99, Abdul Vahari and Ferreira driving those cars at the moment, and those cars have a long line of blue numbered GS cars sitting behind all the way down to, I reckon, the number 10 car of LAP Motorsports, and that is in 20th position. So that's a fair battle going on as well, and just under 100 minutes to go. Shea Adam has been trawling the pit paddock for small little juicy bits of information and has come up with what?
Race control is feeling very much like Oprah today. Penalties for everyone. For car number 98, refueling while on the jack stands, drive-through penalty. Car number 98, 4 guys working on the car, which is not allowed, drive-through penalty. So those are 2 separate drive-through penalties for car number 98. That's the light blue Hyundai. The orange and white Hyundai, car number 27, penalty. Inappropriately attired crew member, warning for them. So they are busy. And if you look at the race control message center, it's going a little bit bonkers right now.
Yes, improperly attired crew member gets a warning, so that they will not get away with that again. 2 separate drive-throughs for the 98. That just makes a bad day even worse for them. They will still be out there because whilst you're out there, things can still happen, and they are not now in charge of their own destiny, Jeremy, as far as the championship is concerned. But as I say, things can still happen, and you don't just say, oh, well, that's it, let's park. We're 6 laps down. Yeah. You keep on trucking.
You do, and particularly as Jayden was saying, particularly here at Sebring International Raceway, as we see the cars bounding over the bumps there in Sunset Bend. We saw earlier today in a Lamborghini race, the car was bouncing so high through there, it actually burst a tyre upon landing. So anything can happen at this racetrack, and you don't count any chickens until that checkered flag falls. Sorry about that, but it's the point is made though that there's still a long way to go, and it's good. With a nice clean race so far. Got a couple of incidents early on. It's settled down. Tyler McQuarrie running a super consistent pace at the front of the field. 2 minutes 13.1 last time around. That's only a fraction away from his fastest lap of the race, less than a 100th of a second actually away from his fastest lap of the race. So Tyler McQuarrie is in control. Cameron Lawrence doing a really good job in second position, and Marco Signoretti in third. And now Sheena Monk in car number 3. She's worked her way first of all past Nick Galante, I should say first of all past Jim Cox, now also past Nick Galante as well. So Sheena Monk in that McLaren is running up in the 8th position, but she started in the 10th position and has moved up a couple of positions since the start of the race.
Jeremy Shaw is alongside me, John Hindhaugh, in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, and just watching Frank Depew charging back up through the field. Bryce Ward as well. Those two involved in an accident for which Frank was penalised by a drive-through, and he did drop behind Bryce, so Bryce might well think that was a reasonable penalty. Both charging back up through the field. Bryce up to what's that, 19th position.
Accident done at the hairpin.
Yes, and it is Bryce involved, just as he was going for another position with Tim Probert, and that is down at turn 7. This is going to be a full course caution, and this will pack the field back up. Now, not early enough to do driver changes here, Adam.
No, we're not. The minimum drive time is 40 minutes in this series, 40 minutes. We've had 27 minutes of this race elapsed so far. So depending on how long it takes for the cleanup, race control might hold off on opening the pit lane just a little bit longer to try and help people, but it's still going to be an issue.
Oh dear, Tim Probert moving back across on the racing line after he had defended going down into turn 7, and pitches the silver Mercedes up into the air. Bryce went to the left-hand side very early, and Tim moves across at least a full lane there, and getting that silver Mercedes airborne. The 65 car looking a bit pre-loved as well, having lost the right rear wheel and 2 very badly damaged cars. That was a shame, as I was mentioning there that Bryce was fighting his way back after that first corner tap that spun him around from Frank Depew, and had worked his way up inside the top 20 and was challenging for 18th position there, Jeremy. But I think Tim will look back at that and be a little bit disappointed with himself. And the worst thing was, he was on the same side, the left-hand side of the car, where the challenge was coming from.
Yeah, that was a shame. Poor Bryce Ward must think the whole world's out to get him in this race. And
I mentioned him, it's my fault.
Yeah, well, but unfortunate incident. I'm sure Tim didn't realise that Bryce was alongside him as he moved across to take the line into the hairpin. And Bryce Ward, he's out of the car. He's okay, but shaking his head as well. He might, of course. Nothing. It wasn't done on purpose. It was a mistake by Tim Probert, but it's ended the race for both of those two. And that's a shame. Both two really good guys. And Bryce Ward, he's done a really good job this weekend, as Shay mentioned earlier on. He out-qualified his son, Russell Ward, who's been who's won races and been running up front pretty much all the way through the season. So an excellent qualifying run, but it's going to be an early end to the day for Bryce Ward, not of his fault whatsoever.
No, indeed. Unfortunately, I mean, he's fine, that's good. Unfortunately, looking at a pretty decent damage bill there, not quite as big as I think as the 65, which has done even more damage. And again, standard procedure, the intervention team, the AMR safety crew, making sure that Tim is absolutely fine before they ask him to get out the car. Gone are the days where people were just dragged out of cars and thrown into the back of an intervention vehicle and taken away. Emergency medicine has come a very long way, both at a racetrack and on the street. The old scoop and shoot, as it used to be called, no, very much changed now. Assess the incident, check on the condition of those involved, and make sure they are stabilised before you even consider moving them, and that's exactly what's happened there. Good work from our AMR intervention crew, and thank you to our safety crews, and also all of the track services and recovery crews, as well as our corner marshals as well, for giving that most precious commodity their time so that we can race. We have got the pits open for GS here, and we have got a surprising number of takers.
We do. This means that people are going to be elongating their first stint, as we're just over the 30-minute mark. One of the cars doing a longer stint, the 60. That's the Aston Martin going for the championship for Core Motorsports. Nate Stacey started the car. He's obviously staying aboard, which means that Kyle Marcelli's drive time will be a little bit shorter, something that he'll be lamenting since he loves Sebring International Raceway. We've also got Cameron Lawrence into the pit lane in the 95 Turner Motorsport BMW. No driver change there yet, and that is actually a discussion worth having, because Robbie Foley normally qualifies one of the two Turner Motorsports BMWs. He qualified neither, meaning that he's technically going to have to finish the race in both cars. So that'll be interesting to see how they figure out that strategy. But the Core Motorsports car back out on the pit lane after 2 fresh tires. And who else did we have in worthy of lament? We've got Sheena Monk in the pit lane in the 3 Mia McLaren, Nick Galante in the 80 Bimmerworld BMW, and James Clay in the 82, the sister car, as well as Vin Barletta in the 96 Turner Motorsports BMW, and Thomas Collingwood. That one surprises me a little bit, because the BGB Porsche had been out there and suffering quite a bit. I thought they would wait for minimum drive time and then plug Jan Halen into the car right away, but nope, they didn't.
No, and the reason for that, Jay, is because if you come in now, take on the fuel. I mean, they were most of the way through a fuel stint here, the GS cars. So when they come in to make their driver change, all they're going to do is a very quick top off. Now they probably put fresh tires on. Now they've got a full tank of fuel. So when they come in at the 45-minute mark, it'll be a much quicker stop than the other cars that come in that have not taken advantage of this full course caution. We saw that to graphic effect last time out at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, where several cars came in kind of earlier than everybody else.
Yeah.
Their second stop was faster. They were able to leapfrog the cars that had to make the longer second stop when they make the driver changes.
Yes, good point, and well remembered, Jeremy. Yeah. This is going to be a relatively longer yellow, because although we are doing very well with the cleanup on the 2 AMG GT4 cars, excuse me, we've got a couple of concrete blocks that need putting back into line. Such was the ferocity with which they were ran into the initial contact to the wall on driver's left, coming into the braking area for turn 7 by the Bryce Ward car, has kinked a couple of the concrete blocks that delineate the edge of the track back, I would say, a good couple of feet on the left-hand side. Bryce's car is just about to go back onto the rollback. We've got an intervention vehicle down there. Again, standard procedure. We've seen Bryce out of that car, so I'm pretty certain his body language was fairly interesting and demonstrative, even though it wasn't like he was jumping up and down, but the steady tapping of his fingers on the top of the concrete barriers on which he was leaning, I think tells you exactly how Bryce Ward was feeling there. Not the work of a moment here, Jeremy, to get this cleaned up, so I suspect we're going to be behind the safety car for a little while. Where Bryce hit actually was only about 3 or 4 feet away from hitting the Armco part, which actually could have taken a bit more fixing. At least the concrete just needs pulling back into space.
Yeah, you're right. This is going to be a lengthy cleanup, and this is going to take the teams well past the 45-minute mark, of course, before the race is going to get restarted again. But once you made your pit stop, if you come in now, again, you're going to have to serve another penalty, Shay, afterwards, afterwards. If you come in now after the pits are initially open, I think you have to serve another penalty, do you not? Make another pit stop after we go back to green.
Correct.
But now now the pits, first of all, sorry, the pits are now open for TCR cars, and we're seeing most of those cars come.
We do have quite a few callers into the pit lane, including the championship leader and race leader, the 33, the red TCR machine. That was Ryan Norman bringing it in, and it will be him taking it back out. It was a really good stop by the Atlanta Speedworks crew, actually. Oh, no, they didn't stop. That's why they jumped up the charts. There we go. The 21 Brian Herta Autosports crew brought in Harry Gottsacker and did, I think, 2 tires on that car, as well as some little Hyundai, and also a very good stop from the Audi, the number 85 crew. That's AOA.
Black car already out and away as the work goes on. The John Deere front loader is already at the concrete barriers. They've had to come round to the non-track side to be able to move that into position and just gently shunt that concrete block back. As I say, one corner of it is moved. I think about better part of a couple of feet, certainly, and just very gently being pushed back to get it back in line. And everybody's a supervisor at this point, isn't it? Yeah. No, not like that. Not like that. Do it like this. Push it that way. No, this way. No, that way. And the JD driver is, I can do it, don't worry, I'll sort it out. Still under yellow then, after that incident between the two MG GT4s, Tim Probert and Bryce Ward, excuse me, in the Winward car. We've already had 10 minutes of full course yellow.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that, I think they're saying that's okay to go racing again. Okay, that's fine.
And we saw all those TCR cars making pit stops again. It's still too early to make the driver change, but all of them now, all of the TCR cars, I thought, no, I'm wrong. Number 5 and number 84 did not. So they stayed out on the racetrack, but all of the other top 9 cars, I think, on the lead lap in TCR, they all came in and made pit stops. So they all had to stop again because they need to change the drivers. Yeah. But at least all except number 5 and number 84 will need to take on more fuel as well.
We're packing up the field. There will be no final wave by, but we will split the classes. And that means all the GS cars will go to the front of the field, so that means we need to get the lead TCR car, which is the number 5, and I won't say anything more than that at the moment, and the Atlanta Speedworks car, which started way down the field, the number 84, right at the back. In fact, they just need to let the GS cars go through, and I think we'll go green, not this time by, but next time by. So get a chance for everybody to pack up behind, right at the tail end of the field at the moment. In fact, just having joined on the number 29 Spencer Brockman Hyundai Veloster, and that is that the car that's still on the lead lap, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, that is still on the lead lap. So that has got through onto the back of the field. The 98 is a bit further back, but obviously they've dropped laps now. The Mason Filippi car is 7 laps, I think, down, and the Copeland Motorsport car, the 27 car, which was also in the pits early on, that is 5 laps down. So those guys are very much out of the game in terms of a good result, but we'll hope for a little more attrition. Shea Adam, pit times. We've got half a lap under yellow, so you've got plenty of time to talk us through this.
Oh, I don't need your time. I just need a quick couple of seconds because I've just noticed that 3 cars must have done fuel only when they came in during the TCR class pit stops. The 61 for Gavin Ernstone, the 23 for Max Faulkner, and the 98 for Mason Filippi. Their time in the pit lane was less than a minute for each of those cars, whereas everybody else in the category was closer to a minute 10.
Right, okay. And that was TCR, did you say, Shay?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, just for TCR. But even if you're changing 2 tires, we're talking about a 15-second difference.
Yeah, that's probably at least 2 tires, isn't it? Yeah, as you're saying. So we are going to go green should everything remain equal next time around. We have got, I think, 33 cars still running. Remember the Van der Steur Racing Hyundai already behind the wall, the number 91 car, with the issues from earlier on, and we will try and get to the bottom of all those Hyundais that came in with right front problems. Extraordinary. An outbreak of right front issues. And into the pit lane. Some of the GS cars are going into the pit lane now, and that's interesting. We've got certainly coming in the Aston Martin Vantage number 99, that's the Automotive racing car, the Ford Mustang from Ian Racing. I think Frank Depew came in as well as the LAP racing car. Now, they can do this because they haven't got back to the start line yet, but will they have to come back in again then?
I think they will, John, because the pits, they've opened for TCR at 12:37. It's now 12:46. Doesn't take 10 minutes to do a lap around this track. I think that was the second lap around. I don't know why everyone dove in except for minimum drive time had been met, but that's going to be interesting if that's a lot of penalties or if that's reading the rule book properly.
Well, yeah, and the minimum drive time has been met, has it, for those guys who've been racing.
Yes.
Go ahead, you can pit as you're coming back to green. You don't have to take the green flag, I don't believe. You can come coming back to green. Normally, of course, the start-finish line is in front of the pits. Here it's not.
Yeah.
They are effectively coming back to green. So
it's true.
That's it's kind of an anomaly of the layout here that we're using here this weekend.
Well, and that might well have played into that strategy, but can we just confirm that we definitely got minimum driver time there before those cars dived into the pit lane, Shay?
Yes, I can. I saw the clock when the first car crossed the line, and it was already down below 1 hour and 19 minutes remaining.
Right,
so it was 19 minutes and something seconds, but there wasn't 19 on the clock. Right,
we are going to have a penalty, though, for at least one of those cars that have been into the pit lane. It's the Riley Motorsports number 35, leaving with pit equipment attached. That will be a drive-through. We've got a drive-through assessed on the 65 car for incident responsibility. Now, you may ask, why is that being assessed when the car's on the back of a flatbed? That is sending a message to everybody else out there that that was not acceptable driving, and that has been noted by race control. I have no issue whatsoever at that point. The pit stops that came on the way back to green, Shay, all were driver changes. So they've worked it out then that they were going to be able to do that right on the cusp of the drive time.
Yes, we have Jan Halen in the 38 BGB Porsche now, Eric Foss in the 56 Murillo Racing Mercedes, Sebastian Creo in the 22 Multimatic Mustang. It is Chad McCumbee in the 40 PF Racing Mustang, Robin Liddell in the Rebel Rock Racing Camaro, stand back from the fences, Drew Stavley in the 24 Ford, Rob Eklund in the 09 Aston Martin, and also, by the way, Gary Ferriel in the 99 Aston Martin Gary Ferreira, and Anton Diaz Pereira in the number 10. Those are the driver changes that we just had. We have 3 more cars into the pit lane. The number 35, Riley, is serving its penalty, as well as Sean Quinlan in the 43 for Stephen Cameron Racing. That'll be handing over to Greg Leofouge. And Samir Gandhi is in for the 93, handing over to Tom Dyer for the Carbon Audi.
So let's just quickly give you a rundown of what's going on. It appears to me, Jeremy, that the leading 3 cars on the timing screen, that being the 39 Carbon Audi, the 20 N1 Racing Porsche, and Russell Ward in the number 4 Winward, the remaining Winward AMG GT4, they have not yet made any kind of pit stop. And in TCR, I think it's still Ryan Block who hasn't made a pit stop, who leads in 11th position overall the TCR category. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right, phew. Swapping between resources here today, and right, so an hour and 15 to go, and that means Tyler McQuarrie, Jayden Conrad and Russell Ward have been in since the start, which is 49 minutes, which is a long time for a GS car, but that's 5 relatively long laps at 3 3/4 miles, Jeremy, behind the safety car, so they will have saved quite a bit of fuel there.
Yeah, that's right. They won't have used an awful lot there, so they should be able to stay out for another 5, probably 10, possibly 10 minutes. So another 4 or 5 laps before they need to make a pit stop. But then they're certainly going to need another stop before the end of the race, as well as is everybody else.
Yeah, and remember, because of those pit stops, everybody who stopped, which is Dylan Murray in 11th at GS, down over in the 35 Riley Motorsports AMG, Jan Halen, Sebastian Priaulx for Porsche and Ford, then Murillo Racing, Eric Foss and Robin Liddell, who's just gone and done the best lap of the race, by the way, and his second flying lap out the pits in the Chevy Camaro at number 71 for Urban Grid and Rebel Rock Racing. All of those on down over, they have got to pass the top TCR cars, and they're having their own scrap at the moment, and they will catch them up relatively shortly and have to have the scrap with those guys. So 35 for the moment leads a train. That's Dylan Murray in that 35 car coming out of turn 16 onto the back straight now, with the full length of the back straight and more, because they made their pit stop coming back to green. Great TCR battling ahead of them, which they will eventually catch, and that's going to get tasty, Jeremy.
Well, it is, and that caution was brilliant news for Robin Liddell. And as you say, just that new fastest lap of the race on his first flying lap in the car. Incidentally, at the same time, Tyler McQuarrie turned his best 2 laps of the race. The last 2 laps are 13.13, which is better than his 13.17 he did earlier on, and a 13.038 last time around. But that Chevrolet Camaro, that is super fast. Robin Liddell faster again, 2 minutes 10.9. That's ridiculous. That's so much faster than everybody else. It's absolutely absurd. That breaks the race lap record was set by Dylan Murray earlier this year, 2:11.6. The qualifying lap record was set last year by Owen Strinkler at 2:10.5, and Robin Liddell 2:10.9.
Absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. Just a reminder, as we mentioned earlier on in answer to Andy Blackmore at IMSA Radio, the 39 car wins the race. It still needs that Nate Stacey driven Core Motorsports Aston Martin now in 3rd position. It still needs those guys to be worse than 10th. 10th wins it for Core, 11th with a win for Tyler McQuarrie at the front of the field, and they do get it. There's that big a gap between the points for 10th and 11th in GS. And remember, it is class points. It doesn't matter if they're TCR cars, unlikely as though that may seem, but it is 10th in class. Whatever else happens, it's a win for Core. If they are 11th and the car bomb with Purrigan Audi wins this race, then they also take the championship. Simples.
Yeah, and there's nothing to touch the Audi or the particular Chevrolet in this race. New fastest lap in TCR that time around for Ryan Norman in the 2nd place car, car number 33. That is the championship leading car. He's chasing after that black Alfa Romeo of Ryan Block, who is leading at the moment for the KMW Motorsports with TMR Engineering team.
And has not stopped, remember. Let's just keep reminding ourselves of that.
Yeah, there's 4 cars that have not stopped in this race. Just the one TCR, that's the car that leads, is Ryan Block. And then the top 2 overall, Tyler McQuarrie and Jayden Conrad. And the fifth place car now, Russell Ward in car number 4. He also has not yet made a pit stop. He'd actually lost a couple of positions after the restart there. He's passed by both Nate Stacey and Cameron Lawrence.
Yeah. So just coming down to the hour mark. Hour and 10 minutes actually still to go, so plenty of action to come. And as ever, the TCR's doing their bit to keep us entertained with a decent little battle just coming out of the hairpin, headed by the number 61. That's Gavin Ernstone for Roadshagger Racing. He's in 6th. LA Honda World Racing. Tyler Hagler behind there, and then the AOA Racing Audi. So that's Audi, Honda, Audi, 61, 77 and 65. Meantime, at the front of the field, we've had a bit of a lappery going on, but more importantly, we have got a driver, Shea, standing by on the back straight pit lane, who is dressed in dark grey and bright green.
And that's one of 2 fire suits he's wearing this weekend. So I am glad that Jeff Westphal remembered which one that he should be in. But yes, it is about time for Tyler McQuarrie, Mick Drifty, the reigning GS champion 2019, to hand over to his longtime co-driver Jeff Westphal, the other reigning co-driver champion from 2019 in the GS class, trying to do everything they can well within their power to bring home a win for the Carbon team and Steve Dinan, and so far they're doing everything they need to do. But unfortunately for them, Nate Stacey has been keeping that Aston Martin up in the 4th position. It's been a great, quiet run from Porsche so far.
Well, and that's what they need to do. They've got to be at the front, but they don't need any issues. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, they don't. Yeah, no. Some changes in TCR. Now, Ryan Block has been closed by both Ryan Norman and Harry Gottsacker, 2 teammates in the Brian Herder Autosport Career Bag. Jayden Conrad is number 33 and 21. They've closed right up onto Ryan Block. And it was last time around, it was Harry Gottsacker who set a new fastest lap of the race in TCR, 2 minutes 17.4. Still a couple of seconds away from Gabby Chavez's lap record set in July. But Spencer Brockman, also another Brian Herder car, is in 4th position. He's ahead of Gavin Ernstone.
No, he's not actually. It's Max Faulkner who's just gone by Gavin and gone into 5th position.
Yes, that's right.
That's what I've seen.
That's exactly right.
Yes, that's what I've seen by eye. That hasn't been reflected in some of the data that I'm getting through at the moment, but that's all right. But I'm pretty certain that Max has gone through the Fast MD Audi. They were having a terrific scrap.
And Taylor Hagler's
right there, yeah. And just a couple of seconds further back, the AOA Racing Audi's not far away either. At the sharp end though, the bright red number 33 made the pass down at the hairpin. Came to the, oh no, it didn't actually, down to the inside. So does that mean the Alpha just ran a little bit long? Yes, it did. And immediately out of the throttle from Ryan Norman. That was actually quite sensible. He didn't try to cut back on, just ran a little bit, just a little bit long into turn 7, the hairpin, and that's cost the lead for the time being. As Russell Ward is pitting, now he hasn't yet pitted, and I can't see him going to the end with a minute and 5 to go by the time he gets out the pit. But hey ho, and we've said that before. Shea, what's going on?
Fuel and tires, and Indy Dodge should be reinstalled into this car. It's been a couple of weeks since Indy has been driving alongside of Russell, but he's back. And this duo was 4th in this race in July. They're looking to do a couple positions better.
Yes, that's an interesting one. They'll need some intervention from the safety car to go at the end from here, Jeremy, with 66 minutes to go. And we'll wait to see where they come out. it may not matter because pretty much everybody else has still got to stop again. But that lost them a wee bit of track position, dropping down to 19th in class. Indy John Duncher is now back out on the track as in. And yeah, into the pit lane comes the leader, Tyler McQuarrie, into the pit lane. So Shea, they have done I mean, it's impressive because it looks like they've done an hour, but actually 5 laps of that were under full course yellow, were under double yellows. So even at that, even if they get that again, they're still 5.5 minutes short.
Yeah, they'll need a splash at this point, but they are taking their chances and putting in Jeff Westphal. Remember, they missed minimum drive time at the second race at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, which ultimately put them in this pickle of being so far down in the championship and needing to claw back with their backs against the wall. So they have been very diligent about getting in drive time. This is splitting the race pretty much into 2, Jeff getting to do half and Tyler getting to do half. The driver change, so fluid and so natural. These two don't even have to think about it anymore. They've got it down to a science. 4 new tires on the Saudi, and they are new. They have stickers on the Michelin, as the right front tire was actually placed on the air gun, so it gave the mechanic changing the front right a little bit of an issue, but still no time lost. The fuel probe's still attached. Waiting. You want every drop of VP fuel that you can possibly get to try and get to the end of this one and go. And bye-bye, Jeff Westphal.
Yeah, that's it.
Get to the end from here. He's going to have to make another pit stop. That car could do around about 50 minutes, I think, John. So they're going to need another lengthy caution period to get to the end from here.
Well, even with 5 laps of pretty slow safety car intervention, they did pretty much, let's call it an hour. So
54 minutes it was actually.
Really?
So,
even with that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That means that's
not
nowhere near.
Nowhere near, exactly. Yeah.
No.
No, that's fine. They're going to be running flat out here, and we'll see where he comes out in relation, particularly to Robin Liddell in car number 71, and Jan Halen, who's just ahead of Robin Liddell. Those two have been the fastest cars on track. Robin Liddell by a long way, 2 minutes 10.9, his best lap. There's only one other car. There's a couple of cars in the 12s. Seb Prio. There's a few other cars in the 12s now, actually. Sebastian Prio, who is only a couple of seconds or so behind Robin Liddell in number 22 Multimatic Motorsports Ford Mustang. He's running some good lap times as well.
Robin with that 2:10.9 is still the fastest. Still has the fastest time. No doubt there will be people watching, listening, and also even trackside who are sort of scratching their heads at the people who didn't stop. And by the way, Jayden Conrad still hasn't stopped in the 718 Cayman from M1 Racing. He's sitting in second position. He's getting extraordinary fuel mileage out of that car. So why would you not stop? Why would you do something different and give up all of those positions? Indy Dunshi dropping down to 19th position behind everybody who stopped right on the end of the full course caution. Because he's going to have to take on far less fuel, he can go longer into the race. It's a time-certain race. So when he comes in with probably 10 or 11 or 12 minutes left, he knows exactly how much fuel he's going to have to put in, and it will be less than everybody else's fuel stop. And why is that important? Because, as you heard Shea say at the last stop, the determining factor for how long you're in the pit lane is not putting new tyres on. It's not even putting new tyres on and changing a driver. If you're putting more than about half or 3/4 of a tank in, you are waiting for the fuel. So they will be able to come in and put less fuel. They'll be stationary for fewer seconds, and hopefully that will turn into an advantage. Meantime, slight brake fire for the Road Shagger racing car, which is in the pits lane now, yeah?
Minor problem there, as they're changing the front tires. Only Gavin Ernstone getting out of the Road Shagger Racing Audi and handing over to John Morley. Perfect timing, a fist pump from Gavin as he walks back over to the pit wall. Their crew has been one of the fastest all year in terms of getting pit stops done. And when I talked to Gavin briefly the other day, he said, man, we've had a race every other week this year. I feel like a real race car driver finally. And he has driven like a proper race car driver this year.
And he's driven very well. You know, his job is to stay out of trouble early on, hand the car over to John. He's done at least that this year, Jeremy, and no doubt he'll be very pleased with his performance. He's just done 22 laps, and you know, all right, there was a bit of yellow in that as well, but that might work out for them. John, where are we? An hour? TCR car can do about an hour. Jeremy Cornyn, he might be able to go.
Yes.
John, that might be the first of the last pit stops for the TCRs.
Yeah, that's certainly the plan. I mean, that's what John Morley did that.
Oh, John, he was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, brilliant to win the class as a result of that strategy. That was in the second of the two races at Mid-Ohio, wasn't it? You know, beautifully judged drive. He was driving with not a leaden foot, you know, really light foot. He did a fantastic job all the way through that race. He came away with the victory. The TCR cars certainly can go longer than GS cars. You know, the Nate Stacey car. We see who's coming to pit. Okay, Jayden Conrad has finally come into the pit lane now in car number 20. So he's given up the third position. Yeah, he just given up the place to Nate Stacey last time around, but did a good job on older tyres, of course. Jayden Conrad, a brilliant, really impressive first stint for the young Californian.
And again, they won't be able to go to the end from here with that car, even with the fuel economy of the Porsche. How few times do you hear anybody say that? It is quite a frugal car, that 718 Cayman. But again, what will come down to is he will have to be stationary for far less time, which his teammate will be actually. Ashley Freiberg, when she comes, in fact she's already out the pits, so Ashley will probably have to come in for a splash unless there's a well-placed caution, but we'll probably have to come in for a splash of fuel, and that splash of fuel, unlikely to put tyres on, might only put one side of tyres on, even if they do, because they will be putting just enough fuel to get the end, and that should be less than the cars around need when they do their similar stop, their final stop. And that's the thinking there, and we're looking ahead probably some 40 minutes or so before, and you've heard me say this before the stagger unwinds. Think of an athletics race, everybody's in their lanes. If you're running the old 4x400 metres relay, everybody starts in their lanes and you run the first 600 metres in the lanes, and it makes it really difficult to work out who's leading until they break at the start of the back straight on the second lap, and then it all kind of falls in. Well, 600 metres and braking on the back straight at the end of the second lap, that's whenever you take your last pit stop here. So we're looking somewhere about 40-45 minutes down the road, which might only be 10-12 minutes or so before the end of the race for those who go the longest into the race. And quite clearly, if you've only got 10 minutes to go, then you have to put a bit less fuel in than if you've pitted when you've got 20 minutes to go. We've got a BMW parked, and that is Dylan McAvan, isn't it? Yes, it is, in the number 80 BMW on the other pit lane exit. But he's got going again, good news. Now, the only other car that I think hadn't stopped was Ryan Block in the Alfa Romeo Giulietta for KFW Motorsports, and he is now in the pit lane as Max Faulkner's taking his second stop for Fast MD Racing. No doubt again, Jeremy, that Alfa, in terms of fuel, will be able to go to the end from here.
Yes, it will. It certainly should be able to do that. Lost a little bit of ground towards the end of that stint on very worn tyres, did Ryan Block, but a really, really good run for the... he might not sound Argentinian, but he is indeed Argentinian. He's based in Winter Park, Florida these days, but originally from Argentina. And Roy's done a really, really good job. Qualified the car on the second row of the grid in TCR and was leading some laps there. That would have been a lot of fun for him. And he's made big strides in his driving over the last couple of years. Whoa, there's a big moment for Dylan Murray in the number 35 Riley Motorsports car. Just last couple of laps, perhaps crucially, Robin Liddell has managed to get past Jan Halen, actually pull out a bit of a gap. Jan Halen now is coming under pressure almost from Seb Prio, who's effectively next up on the same strategy as Robin Liddell. The number 39 car, Jeff Westphal, he's quite some way further back down the road. In fact, he's behind, he's chasing the number 35 car of Dylan Murray. So Jeff Westphall's got quite a lot of ground to make up, but of course his final stop is going to be a lot quicker than many of these other contenders.
Hello to Kevin Payne, who's sorted out these wars and is watching and listening. He said, do you know what the camera toy is on the 39 Carbon car? It's mounted on the right front roll hoop leg. It is a little Yoda share, isn't it?
It's a Lucky Yoda. They put it in the car a couple of years ago, and it's been bringing them good luck ever since then. And Tyler actually credited it with their race win last weekend out. He said they had a good feeling about Lucky Yoda, and Lucky Yoda was talked about on the broadcast, and hey, they wound up winning the race. So let's see if Lucky Yoda can strike again.
Yeah, excellent camera angle being given there by the Lucky Yoda. New fastest lap in TCR, by the way, at IMSA Radio, if you want any more questions like that answered. John Morley for Road Shagger Racing, 2:17.410, new fastest lap of the race, and a fastest overall best set recently by, that's still at 2:10.9 by Robin Liddell. Yeah, John Morley has set that time. Yeah, in TCR. Sorry, I was confusing myself there with that one. Mark Wiltman's now in the number 21 Hyundai. He's back out, and that should be that car's run to the end. That's the black and red car. Leader, former leader, championship contender. Where did they drop down to, Jeremy, with that pit stop? 13th in class for Jeff Westphall. Yeah. But
already he's caught up very quickly there with Dylan Murray. We saw Dylan off the road very briefly onto the dirt. And that sort of grassy, dirty moment has allowed Jeff Westphall to close in there now. So, but they are still quite a long way behind Robin Liddell, 5, 10, probably 15 seconds or so behind. Let's have a look. Liddell 5. You're more than that, actually. The better part of half a minute behind. So he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Robert Liddell, fastest man on the track at the moment. He's in the 2:11s. Everybody else 2:13s and worse. He's flying at the moment, and then we've got a very revved up Scotsman. Shea Adams can tell us maybe part of the reason behind that.
Yeah, once again, thanks to group chat for the text message. Apparently, Robin Liddell came over the radio yelling about being stuck in second gear and worrying about the gearbox. And the next lap, he set the fastest lap of the race. And the next lap, he set a lap time that was so beyond what any of us could possibly believe. We thought he must have found a wormhole around the track. So all it takes is a little bit of inspiration to try and get Robin Liddell into the mood. And apparently, he's in one of those moods.
Well, a really big night for Scottish soccer last night. It took penalties for them to get through to the European Championships next year, but they did do it after having the job done, and they were equalised in the 89th minute, so the last minute of the normal part of the soccer match, when they managed to pull through and win on penalties with a fabulous save of the 10th penalty by the goalkeeper. And so they're through, and I know that Robin will have been following that, as all good Scotsmen would have been, and there will have been a whooping and a hollering yesterday evening by the Tartan Army, and looks like we've got another fired up Scotsman today in 7th position, Shane.
Yes, and I was actually just trying to fire up Parker Chase there because he was sitting on the pit lane for about 6 seconds after the fuel nozzle came out and was still just sitting there, and then finally engaged the car in gear and heads out onto the track. But that's the white with the green accent Hyundai that had the contact at the beginning of the race in turn 1 with the sister car, the number 98. But yes, Spencer Brockman, after a really good first opening stint, now is handed over to Parker Chase, and we are rapidly approaching the minimum drive time needing to be met by the second drivers. We have a 12-minute window before the 40-minute mark can no longer be met by the second drivers. So get your pit stops in now.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because of course with that rather ill-timed safety car for the coming together of Tim Probert and Bryce Ward, for which Tim was given the responsibility for the incident. Some teams, Jeremy, elected to come in and not change their drivers, so they've got to be very mindful now of getting the second driver in and getting enough time for them to get the 40-minute minimum.
Yeah, correct. You don't want to be caught out like the number 39 team was at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, where the full course caution came out with about just under 50 minutes remaining. The pits were closed. He couldn't come in and make his pit stop, and so he wasn't able to make it before they were inside the final 40 minutes of the race, and that cost them, you know, massively in the championship. It was really unfortunate for that team. But rules is rules, and it caught them out. So we just saw pit stops for the second and third place cars in TCR. That was number 29 and number 77. Now the race leader, Ryan Norman, he comes in to serve his pit stop as well. Also into the pits, interestingly, is number 39 car of Jeff Westphal. Didn't need to stop now, but he's come in, made his final pit stop. He's only been out, what, 4 or 5 laps since coming onto the pit lane to make the driver change, but they knew they didn't have enough fuel to get to the end. He's come in now. They'll take on a fresh set of Michelin tyres. They'll be able to run to the end from here, as long as they can stay on the lead lap. If there's another full course caution, this could play out in their favour rather than against it like it did last month.
Yeah, and the other teams, by the way, I'm fairly certain would have been thinking as well, if they get close to that 40 minutes and the safety car comes out, you come in and do your driver change, and then you take the penalty for entering a closed pit, because the penalty for entering a closed pit is likely to be a drive-through, whereas the penalty for not hitting your drive time is disqualification of the car. The 39 is out then. That is then its final stop. 50 minutes, yeah, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is interesting. So they're going to go to the end from here and now. So what we need to do now, and I'll let Shane Jeremy do the arithmetic on this, because, you know, that's why I came into journalism, so I did have to do the maths. Let's work out the gap between Rebel Rock Racing as they stand at the moment and the 39 car of Jeff Westphal. I think Jeff dropped off the lead lap by making that second stop?
I didn't see where he's come out. He's going through turn 5. I don't know where the leaders are, to be honest.
Let's go through turn 5. Leader is through turn 9 at the moment. So if he's going through turn 5, he has dropped off the lead lap. Confirmed, by the way, I think with what we knew, that Bryce Ward and the 57 machine has retired after that big incident early on. No, I don't think so.
The guy who's really charging right now, of course, the number 39 car, yes, it is a lap down to the overall race leader, but of course Cameron Lawrence and Nate Stacey still have to make their stop and their driver change with 48 minutes remaining, so they've got still plenty of time to come in and make their driver change and get out again, and they will be well ahead of number 39 car. So that strategy is certainly working out well for Turner Motorsport, and I think for number 60 team Core Motorsports as well. But to tell you who's been charging really hard lately is Alan Brignoles in the Archangel Motorsports Aston Martin car number 7. He's closed up and overtaken James Clay in the Bimmerwell BMW, and the Archangel bright yellow Aston Martin is up now into 3rd position overall. He still also needs to make another pit stop, and he's more than 17 seconds behind the race leader Cameron Lawrence, who's just been charging away at the front of the field, just romping away from the field in that car number 95.
So 39 car now, in terms of the race and the championship, they're hoping to get back to the front of the field, but a safety car now absolutely messes that strategy, because they're a lap off the lead. That really messes up their strategy. Well, it depends. It depends when it comes and who. Well, I suppose most of the guys that are ahead of them would stop to do their second stop. So yes, they might get the wave back round again. New fastest lap in TCR goes to a car that I'm not mentioning, which is in 7th and has a number that is between 4 and 6. Okay, but you know, we've cursed that effort plenty of times. by the way. Now,
What the pace that Cameron Lawrence is pulling away is incredible. I mean, more than 2 seconds a lap on each last 4 laps. It's incredible how far away he's pulling from Nate Stacey now in the championship leading core Motorsports Aston Martin.
They've got to get in. They have got to get in sometime soon, because if the pits close and they've missed their drive time, they've done exactly what the 39 did a couple of races ago, and that could have massive championship implications. There's no need for them to run it close, Jeremy. They don't have to win this race. Cameron Lawrence in the pits now, and surely Nate Stacey will follow him into the pit lane in the 60s, coming to the pit entrance now, and he's almost put a lap on the 39 car before he pitted, as Lawrence is in. Now, who gets into this car? Which car does Robbie Foley get into?
Oh, now this is interesting. Robbie Foley can only drive one car at a time, obviously, and he is getting into the 95, which meant that that car would then go on to, hypothetically, win the race. Now, I was expecting to see Robbie Foley getting into the 96 Turner Motorsports BMW, because that's the one that he shares with Vin Barletta. He's in for a full season championship with the 95, but he doesn't stand any gains in terms of points positions. He's not going to come into the top 3 of that. So I thought he would try and get Vin another win this year. They've already gotten one, but no. So that means when the 96 has passed the minimum drive time, it should be disqualified, because it no longer gets the minimum drive time met by the second driver. But it meant that Vin can still be out there running around and getting track time, gaining experience for potentially next year. That was a perfect pit stop by Turner, though. It was fuel and tires in the driver change, and it was, how long of a stop? Just over 1 minute and 20 seconds.
And by the way, Nate Stacey didn't stop. And just to make the point, by the way, when the Cameron Lawrence car came in, yes, he was pulling away from second position, but he was still being closed down on by Robin Liddell, who is still the quickest car out there at the moment. 12.5 last time around, and I don't see anybody within a second of him at a quick look down. So the Scotsman is absolutely giving it everything at the moment, but has to, because he's got a stop to come as well, and that's got to be. He's got to claw back the time right now, because he's going to give some of it back in that final stop.
Quite right. So you know, that Chevrolet is just incredibly fast. 2 minutes 10.9, his best lap. Nobody else is even in the 11s, let alone the 12, let alone the 10s. 2:12.0 for Dylan Murray, actually. Car number 35 would be the next fastest lap, more than a second behind. But also, by the way, talking about good news, Chevrolet should be back in this championship next year. Team TGM announced this week that it'll be back with both of its Chevrolets in the 2021 season. So that is certainly excellent news to see the former series champions back in this championship, having sat out the season due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, Shea, they cut it fine under 3 minutes before they came in, but I mean, don't forget that the drive time only starts coming out of the pit lane, so they can't afford any mistakes here.
Nope, your drive time ends when you come into the pit lane, and it begins when you exit the pit lane, meaning that given a 1.5-minute long pit stop, they could have come in at 41.5 minutes to go, just over, for Kyle to reach his time. But they are there doing the stop now. Fuel and tires for this Aston Martin. There should be no concerns about it getting to the end of the race. And this should be a championship-winning pit stop, potentially. So extra pressure on the crew and extra pressure on the drivers to get the change done. But they seem very, very calm as the car, which wears Operation Motorsport stickers on the side of it. A little bit of Canadian pride there. As fuel going into the car, they still wait for that. But the first car back down and rolling away is now driven by Trent Hinman. That's the Archangel Motorsports Aston Martin, the bright yellow one. That's going to be a problem for Kyle Marcelli, because Trent Hinman is not going to give up any positions. Doesn't matter if they're the same manufacturer. He now has a very fired up young American behind him.
And he comes out with 1 minute and 46 seconds in hand to get his drive time. I tell you what, when you're battling for a championship, Jeremy, that takes chutzpah to do that, because all we needed was a full course yellow for somebody having a problem, like for example the 29 Hyundai, which is moving very slowly again, and the pits would have been closed. That is an extraordinary roll of the dice for those guys. They must be feeling very confident.
Yeah, I mean, you want to go as far as you can, because then you're going to have fresher tyres towards the end of the race. If there's a late full course caution, you don't want to burn off your tyres before that, so you want to kind of leave the stop as late as you can, but you certainly don't want to be called out by that caution flag. So they've called that I think just about perfectly, and they're going to be looking good now. We're going to have to wait and see how these other cars.
Oh, Jeremy, we've got a development. Shea Adam in the pit lane. We weren't expecting this.
Oh, Jeff Westphall's back in the pit lane. He's loosening his belts. It looks like this is going to be done for the Carbon Motorsports Audi. I'll send a text message and try and find out what's going on. But pure defeat in the eyes of Jeff Westphall.
Well, he brings the car in on the pit lane speed limiter, and he doesn't even stop at his pit, and the championship is over for Carbon. Championship is over for Carbon, and that hands the championship then. They were already in a very good position, but now that means, Jeremy Shaw, that Aston Martin and Core Motorsports are en route to the championship. In that moment there, Trent Hinman's gone by on the run out of the pits, but that matters not at all right now. Not the way I know they would have wanted to run it. We'll find out what's happened to the Carbon Audi. Trent Hinman slid by into the first corner, but we have Aston Martin drivers as champions elect now in this race, with what, just under 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, this will be
40 minutes here, just under 40 minutes to go, my apologies.
Yeah, with the number 39 car out of the race, championship already done then for number 60 car, so they'll just kind of bring it home. But another good run here for the Volt Racing Archangel Motorsports Aston Martin. This will move them into a good finish, they hope, in this race. Currently running in the 6th position, but they've got the cars are all pretty spread out now. Robin Liddell and Jan Halen will still owe us a pit stop, as will the number 22 car. In fact, all of the I think the number 7 car is going to be leading this race once all the pit stops have been concluded.
I was about to say he's racing Eric Voss, who has had a couple of stops, but he's not actually, because Eric was in at the same time. So he's racing Robbie Foley in the 95 now. That's Robin Liddell I'm talking about.
Yes, he's behind number 95, you're right.
Yeah.
So a long way behind, actually.
Yeah. So Robin Liddell is trying to build up a pit stop on the number 95. That's what you've got to look at the moment. It's 40 seconds, that gap at the moment between Liddell and Robbie Foley. Shea Adam has been looking. How long is a full pit stop?
Full pit stop, we're looking at about 1 minute and 20. If we're going to do 2 tires, we're closer to 1 minute and 10. And if we're doing fuel only, it would be just over that 58-second threshold.
That would be for a full tank, though, and Robin will not need a full tank, will it?
Correct.
Right, this is going to be
but
tight.
The trip down pit lane is 33 seconds in and of itself.
Oh, right, okay, thank you for that, thank you. So 33 seconds delta on the pit lane. So he's got that plus 6 seconds at the moment. He's going to need more than 6 seconds of fuel. So let's see how quick Robin can go at the moment. Henman's just done the fastest lap for Archangel Motorsports car at 2:13. That is still pretty much 0.8 of a second slower than the leader. Liddell is cracking the laps off at the moment. What did Robbie Foley do last time around? A 12.6. So that's a bit closer. That's 0.3, and that's the car we've got to keep an eye on. Robbie Foley in the Turner Motorsport number 95. That's the effective battle for the lead at the moment. Foley, the first car, I reckon, that can go to the end in the timing and scoring standings, in 5th position, and let's call it 40 seconds, Jeremy, behind Robin Liddell, who has to make a stop for fuel before the end of this race.
Yeah, number 95 car has you know, very, very handy advantage. He's 22 seconds ahead of Trent Hinman, and it's not even going to be close. I think he's going to be behind both of those two when he comes out. Robert, he's going to come into the pits right now then with 36 minutes remaining in this race. But you know, the car is super fast, and if there's a full course caution, of course, I think that's what everybody's going to need if they're going to catch Robbie Foley in that number 95 car.
This is interesting. Robin's been out there for 19 laps. That's 20 laps rather. So just on 40 minutes. So I think he would have had a little bit of fuel left, but they're going to give him a full set of Michelin tyres and set him on stun. And tell him that the win in the European Champs qualifier was flukery, and really get his dander up and set him on for the last 40 minutes. I think that's really smart, because Robin on a charge on tyres that will be newer than the cars are racing. There goes what is the effective leader past Robin in the pit lane down the back straight. So Jan Heelan's gone through, Sebastian Priaulx's gone through, but more importantly, Robbie Foley's gone through as well, because Heelan and Priaulx still owe us a pit stop. There's Robin down and away, and what I want to see now is the gap. What's the target for the Scotsman, and can he then turn this up to 11? He's out of the pit lane, off the limit, and now took 4 tyres, Shay, correct?
Yeah, there was a minute and 20 for the entire pit stop, so a very good pit stop by the Rub Rock crew.
And he's dropped.
Behind Ashley Freiberg, she is quite a long way behind Robbie Foley. Robbie Foley's out on his own here. He's got this race in the bag if there's no full course caution. No question about that. But it's a great first stint by long first stint by Cameron Lawrence. He was pulling away at 2 seconds a lap over the number 60 car. The number 38 car, Jan Heelan, surprised he hasn't come in for his final pit stop. He definitely needs another pit stop. And he's been losing ground at a rapid rate to the number 71. So I'm not quite sure why they left that
big
stop
spin.
such a long time. Is that Dan Clark?
That is Speedy Dan Clark, who was right, I think was coming into the pits or trying to, but he's in there now and had to do a bit of a pirouette to get in. And did he go wrong direction there? But something went wrong for Spinny Dan Clark, not Speedy Dan Clark today, as that AMG was for a moment pointing in the wrong direction. For the LAP Motorsports car, he is right on the end of the lead lap, isn't he? So he's going to drop off the lead lap with that pit stop. But in comes Heelan and Priaulx, just half a second between them. So they're now into the pits for what will be their last pit stops for respectively the 788 Cayman number 38 and 22 Multimatic Motorsport. Aston, there goes Robbie Foley, and now is on the track, the leader, with 33 minutes to go, and the gap between him and Hinman, Hinman's dropped back a wee bit, we'll see when he comes through, is significant. There goes the Turner BMW across the line, and still waiting for Hinman in the 7. He's just coming through turn 17 now in that Cayman. And then where's Liddell? Well, Liddell's just coming into 17 now. So that's 21 seconds between first and second. Kyle Marcelli's in third for the champions-elect Core Motorsport in the Aston. He's another 2 seconds further back. Then 6 seconds back from that is Bimmer World. Robin Liddell is next. He's got ahead of Ashley Freiberg that time around. 32 seconds, the gap between Robin Liddell and the leader. 32 seconds in 32 minutes. There you go. That is the equation. Or if you prefer, around about 14 laps to go. So it needs to be about a couple of seconds a lap quicker than Foley every lap, and I can't see that happening. But Robin Liddell is on for a podium here. He's got the best tyres of the cars in front of him, better tyres than the cars in front of him, and he's got a very, very quick car indeed. So I'm going to predict Robin for a podium. In fact, I think, where is he? Just doing a quick bit of arithmetic. I think he'll get to second. I think he'll get to second, but I don't think he'll catch the leading BMW unless it's a full course caution.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's not going to get a lot of pushback from Kyle Marcelli in third, is he? Because they're off to win the championship. Although I suppose they're going to win the championship, so you actually will get a bit of pushback now. They'll want to finish on the podium. That'd be a nice way to round off the championship and do a bit of celebrating, Jeremy.
Yeah, that would be rather nice, wouldn't it? Meanwhile, in TCR, the number 21 car, Mark Wilkins and the pole sitter Harry Gottsacker, they're out in the lead now. They've got about a 4-second lead over Gabby Chavez, who is in car number 33 and chasing hard. Gabby Chavez actually went, well, he has set the fastest lap of the race. Not quite, I don't think. No, Tim Lewis has actually set the fastest lap of the race in the Alfa Romeo, currently running in the 6th position after its fairly recent stop. Mark Wilkins and Gabby Chavez. Gabby Chavez has a lap record around here in TCR. That was at a 1:15.0. No, not come anywhere near that in TCR. The fastest lap in the class, a 1:16.1. But Gabby Chavez is certainly going to try and chase down Mark Wilkins, last year's champion. But second place would be just fine for the number 33 car of Gabby Chavez and Ryan Norman.
VP Fuels Racing pit and paddock update. Unfortunately, I do have an answer on the 39 Audi for Carbon. It was the transmission that failed on that car, and neither they nor I can remember the last time they actually had a mechanical failure with the Audi, but the team is just completely gutted that is what has caused them to no longer be out on the racetrack.
Oh dear. Well, it was a long shot for them to win the championship. Are they secure in second place, Jeremy, for the championship? It will be small comfort to them.
Yes, they are. They're well clear. They've got 37 points edge. Big battle actually for third place. Jeff Mosing, Eric Foster, number 56 car, Jim Coxdale and Murray, number 35, plus Russell Ward in number 4 car. They're only separated by 4 points coming to this weekend. Robbie Foley, though, he's not too far back out either. In 6th position, he's 12 points out of third place coming into this final round. But assuming he wins the race, 8th position is Dylan Murray right now. 8th position is worth 23 points. That's a 12-point edge. So in actual fact, Robbie Foley, if he can hang on here and get his second win of the season, that would put him equal on points with Jeff Mose. It'll actually put him 1 point ahead of Jim Cox and Dylan Murray. So Robbie Foley here not only can win the race, he can also finish in the top 3 in the championship.
So definitely something to play for, as it were. Robbie's been out for 15 minutes, and we've got 30 minutes to go, so that's spot on that round about 45 minutes that we think, 45 to 50 minutes, that's going to be okay for the GS car. So that car is going to be fine to the end of the race. He's got a big gap, 19 seconds between himself and Trent Hinman, second for Archangel Motorsports, and Trent has just put in that car's fastest lap of the race, actually, a 2:12.6. Still Robin Liddell the quickest, a 2:11.6 last time around. So that was 2 seconds quicker than Robbie Foley, and that gap is coming down. His next target, Robin Liddell's next target, will be Kyle Marcelli. He's under 4 seconds behind the third place car, so podium definitely for Rebel Rock Racing as it stands. Late race safety car, and all bets are off. If there's a late race safety car, my money goes on Robin Liddell straight away, even if it's only green-white checker, to be quite honest. We know what Robin could do on cooler tyres. We've seen it in the past, and he's very, very decisive through traffic. But right now, Robin Liddell is still potentially on, well, I think definitely for a third place, probably for second, but I think that if Robbie Foley can keep the wheels under that BMW for Turner Motorsport. That the win for Robin is just a bit out of the grasp there.
Yeah, I agree, John. But certainly Trent Hinman, he's got the message. He knows exactly the scenario. That's why he's turning a series of fast laps in that number 7 car in second position. He wants to at least try as hard as he can to hold on to that second place. It might not be a win, but it'd be certainly a great way to end the season for that Archangel Motorsports Aston Martin team. Because only switched to the Aston just a few races ago.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And they've tried. I mean, there are plenty of GT 4 cars share to go through in terms of the manufacturers, and Archangel Motorsport or Volt Racing, as they were before under a couple of different guises, they've tried quite a few of them now.
You know, when you go to Costco on a Sunday and they've got all the food samples out and you can try everything before you decide on which one you want to make for that Thanksgiving dinner, yeah, that's kind of what Archangel has done in many different facets, or at least Alan Brynjolfsson. Started off with McLaren, moved on to a Ford, raced the Ford for a little while, moved on to the Porsche, raced the Porsche for a little while, and now he's in an Aston Martin.
Is it still, Jeremy, as far as we know, is M1 Racing still running the old Archangel Porsche?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
the team has bought that car, and they're running different colours for that car this weekend. Kind of a sort of a darker version of the Gulf colours. It's sort of a lightish blue and a darkish orange. So it's a little bit more stark than the old Gulf colours. But yeah, they bought that car, and Ashley Freiberg has taken over from Jayden Conrad, looking to get a top 6 finish, running in the 6th position now. But Ashley's coming under increasing pressure from Corey Lewis in the Mia McLaren. Car number 3 is closed up on Ashley, and she last time around was lost more than a second to the McLaren.
So 25 minutes to go. Let's talk about TCR, because so much going on at the sharp end of the field, Jeremy. Gabby Chavez now in second position in the 33 Brian Herter car, to his teammate Mark Wilkins by about 3 seconds. They're lapping, give or take, a few tenths in decent time. The Roadshagger Racing Audi, John Morley, doing a cracking job and holding on for the moment to 3rd position, and has a 22 seconds a gap back to James Vance in the Fast MD, number 23 Audi. What's the situation in the TCR Championship then?
Well, second place would be just fine for Ryan Norman and Gavin Chavez, because they came in with a 4-point edge over Mason Philippi and Michael Lewis. Well, they've had problems and are a long way back. They are still running, but out of contention in the 11th place. 3rd place in the points coming in to this final race, Gavin Ernstone and John Morley. Well, they're running in the 3rd position right now, which is certainly good, but not quite good enough. But for Harry Gottsack and Mark Wilkins, if they can come away with the win here, they could conceivably work their way up to 2nd in the points behind Ryan Norman and Gabby Chavez.
Robert Liddell's just gone into 3rd position overall. Carl Marcelli dealt with. Thank you and good night, Vienna. And despite the traffic around him, Robert Liddell still lapping much quicker than the cars ahead. He was 3 seconds quicker, 2.5 seconds quicker last time around than Trent Hinman. No, make that 3 seconds quicker than Trent last time around. And round about 2 seconds quicker than Robbie Foley. I tell you what, nobody tell Robert that I said he was not going to win this, because he'll punch me in the arm. He's not giving this up. All he can do now, Jeremy, is drive the wheels off the urban grid, Rebel Rock Racing Camaro, and see where he gets to in the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's last time around he was 3 seconds quicker than the race leader Robbie Foley, and I'm sure Robbie Foley at this stage. We've got 21 minutes remaining, so it's 8-9 laps to go in this race. So Robbie Foley has the edge here. I'm sure at this stage in the game, he's making sure he doesn't use up too much of his Michelin tyres, so that if there is a full course caution in the late stages, he at least has some Michelin rubber left with which to potentially fight that Chevrolet. But I think that would be a pretty tall order, because that Chevrolet is just wicked fast here this weekend, has been all weekend long. And Robin Liddell, thank the lucky stars for Robbie Foley and the Turner Motorsport team that there was a problem early on for the number 71, which kind of dropped it back down the order. Drive-through penalty. But Robin Liddell has shown the potency of that car.
4 laps better off tyres in terms of tyre life, Jeremy. Liddell on Foley, 3 on Hindman. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you are having to push very hard, that it could be important. Corey Lewis, Motorsport in action. The Mia McLaren in 6th position. 7th for Ashley Freiberg. Oh, with a bonnet, a hood pin on the right front that's come unfastened. They'll have to come in for that. Race control will be looking at that. They'll get the meatball flag, the black flag with the orange central disc. Ashley, by the way, settling into driving this Cayman very nicely indeed, and really not minding the car moving around. I've noticed on the faster corners she's really drifting that car, but it's a flat 4-wheel drift. Looks very nicely balanced, and great to see Ashley Freiberg back in the IMSA Championship. We watched her with interest a few years ago, Jeremy, and then, as often happens, the financial side of things rather than the talent took over, and couldn't find the budget to go racing. But good to see her back, and she's certainly shown, I think, that she's lost none of the speed that she had a few years ago.
No, absolutely right. Great to see Jayden Conrad had that opportunity as well.
Exactly so.
Young African-American driver who's a real talent. I mean, he went across to Europe 3 or 4 years ago. He raced in the Italian Formula 4 Championship. And that takes some credit for doing that. He's raced in the British F3 Series. He's had a lot of good results. Then made the move to sports car racing a couple of years ago. Finished 4th in the Italian Porsche Carrera Cup Challenge last season. That's a pretty stout championship. Yes, he knew some of the tracks from F4 a few years before, but that was a really good effort. This year, he was planning on going back and challenging for the championship. COVID-19 put an end to that for Jayden Conrad, but he's been back to Europe again in the last few month or so, done some Carrera Cup races, and also finished 9th at Le Mans in a huge field, and also has done some Super Cup races as well. So both those two drivers, Ashley Freiberg and Jayden Conrad, are very, very talented indeed.
Robin Liddell has caught 2nd place Archangel Motorsport driver Trent Hindman. He's right there now for 2nd place, and they are just on 18, 19 seconds away from the leader. I'm just checking on stint lengths here. I know we talk about time a lot, but we've got to look at laps and stint lengths. Robbie Foley, to get to the end of the race, is going to have to do, I reckon, at this pace, about a 20-2-0 lap stint. And I'm not sure any of the GS cars have done that in this race.
Oh yeah, that's no problem. He came in with 44 minutes to go. That's fine. The GS cars, they can run around about 50 minutes without any difficulty at all. I don't see any difficulty there for Robbie Foley.
He's now under 20 seconds ahead of Liddell, and the battle is for 2nd position. Coming through Jean de Bian-Benz, the bright highlight yellow Aston Martin has got the rumble of the two V8 engine cars, of course. The Vantage, powered by the AMG architecture V8 with the twin turbos in the hot V. AMG and Mercedes-Benz taking more and more of an interest in Aston Martin, and have just bought some more stock in the parent company, interestingly enough. Through turn 17. Sad to hear that I think the V6, the 3-litre V6 Aston engine that's been under development for a little while, I think that might be a casualty of the more interest from AMG. Down the inside, easy as you like, and Robin Liddell is in the second place. Trent Hinman will try and tough it out on the outside of turn 1, but ultimately it looks like the Camaro's got the inside to turn 3. Very nice, respectful racing. Hinman didn't make it easy for him, and why should he, Jeremy? He's battling for second position, but both drivers very sensible there. Good, clean racing.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Hinman, you can see the pace with which the Chevrolet caught up with him, so there's no point in being silly. It's just a matter of time. The Chevy's going to just power past him, and he's quick through the corners as well. So, that was a battle he was never going to win. So let him go. Maybe Robin can make a mistake trying to catch up as he did there at turn 7, runs wide, loses himself a bit of time. And that's going to give Trent Hinman an opportunity perhaps to look to the inside under braking for turn 10. But Robin Liddell has been there, seen there, done that before, so he's going to defend the inside line.
Which he does perfectly well, and legitimately so. Really great power off the corner and grip off the corners from the centre out, to use a stock car centre off a stock car term. But that's good mid-corner grip and grunt. And Robin with his hand out the window, that's become rather a Liddell trademark. He might well have been waving to Trent Hinman to say thanks very much, but far more likely just to be getting a bit of cool air on his hands. We've seen him do that before, and obviously just reminding all of the fans around the track that Scotland won 5-4 on penalties earlier on this week. Yeah. Every Scottish friend that I've got has been all over that on Twitter, and absolutely rightly so. 15 minutes to go. 18 seconds the gap, well, was the last time around between first and second. What is it this time, including the pass and a little mistake from Robin Liddell? Foley has gone through. A lap ago, Robin Liddell went down the inside at turn 1. It's 16.3 seconds. So even with that pass, even with that problem, a second and a half taken out the leader by Liddell. This is not over. This is absolutely not over, and I am prepared to eat a large slice of humble pie when I said Robin could get to second but wouldn't get to Foley. This race in the last 15 minutes, Jeremy, is on.
Yeah, it is. With this 14 minutes remaining, that we're doing, 2 minutes and 12-second laps, so probably 6 laps, I think. Possibly 7, depending on where the race leader is on the road. So he's going to have to make up more than 2 seconds a lap, and he has been making up around about 2 seconds a lap. So if not more than that. So Robin Foley could have a battle on his hands. A quick shout out here, by the way, number 20 car, the M1 Racing Porsche Cayman, did come into the pits a couple of laps ago, so unfortunately has given up that top 6 or 7 finish. She'd just been overtaken at Ashley Freiberg by Corey Lewis in the Mia McLaren, so McLaren now up into 6th position.
That might have been fuel. She'd done a 19-20 lap stint, Jeremy, so that's about there. That was 42 minutes of green flag racing for Ashley at a pretty good speed. Sorry, no, we had the hood latch. Don't forget the hood latch. Shay's just reminded me. The right front hood catch had come unfastened. So that there as well would have brought her into the pit lane. We thought she might have got the meatball flag.
Yeah, but I think she was in, her last pit stop was with over 50 minutes, well over 50 minutes to go in the race. There's actually about an hour to go, so yeah, I think she needed a pit stop in any case, in actual fact.
Yeah, 42 minutes she was out. On that. It came out just after the top of the hour, 5 minutes past the top of the hour. So 12.5 minutes to go. Battles in TCR now as well at the front of the field. Mark Wilkins has Gabby Chavez. And Chavez right there as they go through turn 7. And there was just a little squeal of Michelin rubber there for a moment that I thought for a second someone had locked up and was waiting to see a spinning car. Great effort once again by Gavin Hernstone and John Morley. Best of the Audis, right in amongst the Hyundais earlier on, although quite a few of the Hyundais seem to have right front problems. Did they all just run into each other, Shea? Did we get to the bottom of that, those right front problems? So what? I think it was 3 Hyundais, wasn't it, early on?
There were 3 Hyundais that came into the pit lane together. 2 of them had right front issues. There was a splitter issue on another one of the Hyundais. But here's the confusing part. Those were not the ones that were anywhere near each other for the contact.
Right. Okay. So...
just talking about the number 61 car, that made a second stop, didn't it?
Yes, because they stopped early with Gavin, who's then stayed in the car. So they stopped at the first. Oh, John, get your brain in gear. Safety car.
Full course caution.
Yes, thank you.
But they did. That's right. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Sorry, my brain is gone to a bit mush today, which is good news when we've got a 14-hour broadcast tomorrow, isn't it? Right, 11. Early night tonight, I feel. Still one more race to come, of course. Lamborghini Super Trophy live 3. 2, sorry, yes, I've got a Porsche race to do. Good heavens, I was about to sign off there and disappear for some food. Good heavens. 10.5 minutes to go. The 2 Hyundais go through turn 1 and are battling for the race lead. Gabby Chavez in the 33 car, looking for the championship at the moment. It would be nice to finish it off on the top step of the podium. They are teammates. It's been a great season for the Hyundai Veloster NTCRs, very highly developed machine, and right on the very cutting edge of the TCR regulations. A lot of engine development on those cars. Was what I was learning. There was a round of the World Touring Car Cup at the Nürburgring 24 Hours when I was there earlier this year, doing some very socially distanced television for Audi. And got the opportunity to, through a few people I knew there, to delve right into that. And Andrea Adamo, who runs the Hyundai sporting programme, has given me the lowdown. And that is a very sophisticated little racing car. And in racing terms, Jeremy, all of these TCRs are round about the same price. And my goodness, for the performance per monetary unit, they seem to be very, very good value indeed, because you can race them in endurance events like this and even longer. There obviously are a variety. Oh no, Road Shagger with a problem. Right front, and there's been contact, I think. Looks like suspension damage to the right front. There's massive negative camber on the right front wheel, and it's carving its way through the bodywork there. It is not a puncture. There is still air in the right front tyre. This is 3rd place from John Morley. He was over 20 seconds ahead of James Vance for the Fast MD Audi. But that's going to disappear
behind the 2 leaders as well.
Yeah.
So it certainly wasn't any battle for position that has caused this problem.
Well, he's coming into the pit lane entry now. He's got to remember to turn in and not go to the old pit lane entry, and he does so. Shea Adam has this VP Racing Fuel pit lane update. There's definitely, Shea, still air in the tyre, but it looks like the wheel is not perhaps at the correct angle underneath the right wheel arch.
Yeah, a little bit too much camber going on for that right front tire, but this has not been the best 24 hours for this team. They were looking for a little bit of redemption after qualifying yesterday. It was a bit of a disaster. What happened was Gavin Ernstone came to almost a stop on the back straight as soon as we missed the pit lane entrance. There was a misfire in the engine, a brand new engine that they had installed after the last race at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So they were not counting on that. Then the crew had to wait until they got permission to move the car back to their garage area, because of course, it being a qualifying session, you can't touch the car. If you touch the car, you lose all your qualifying times. So they were hoping for a much better race, and until about 2 minutes ago, they were having one.
Very, very annoying to get that close. Fast MD will pick up the 3rd place, and James has indeed gone through. He's got quite a big gap back to 4th place, which is the KMW Motorsports Alpha, and poor John Morley in the pits is just losing positions. Watching the 95 Turner Motorsport BMW getting quite a bit sideways on the far side of the circuit. He's got a battle on now. We've got just under as 7 minutes to go, and the gap is 11 seconds to second place. Liddell is still charging. Last time around, Robin's slowest lap for a wee while, a 2:12.6, still a second and a half quicker than the leader. As it stands at the moment, we've probably only got 3, possibly 4 laps to go. Well, we're running 2:14s at the moment. It's gonna, I'll tell you what, Jeremy, this could be when the white flag comes out and where Robbie Foley is on the circuit to whether he needs an extra lap or not.
Yeah, I think it'll be 3 laps from here as they're coming up to lap the TCR leaders, or at least Robbie Foley is. The TCR leaders are still absolutely nose to tail now. Gabby Chavez.
Liddell's on the front straight.
4 seconds behind him.
Liddell's on the front straight at the same time as the leader. Before the leader turned into turn 1, Robin Liddell is there. He's got a TCR car to get by before the first corner. He's just put a lap on Indy Donchi in 16th position in the Winwood racing car. But now he's got clear air ahead of him, and he's turning into turn 3 as the leader goes out of and underneath the Corvette bridge, and it's 10.3 seconds. It's going to be a few, maybe 1-2 laps too few, I think, for Rebel Rock Racing, Jeremy.
Yeah, but of course, now the overall leader, Robbie Foley, is going to get past his TCR cars. The 2 leaders, they're battling away amongst themselves here, and they are, I think he's going to have to be careful.
He's going to have to be careful, but decisive. As you say, he can't afford to be held up, but he can't also, if he wants to win the race, can't afford to make a mistake either. Because if he gets onto the dirt or makes a mistake, that 10 seconds lead that he's had, he's going to disappear quickly. He's got past Chavez. Now he's got Mark Wilkins to deal with as they go through Tower and out towards Jean de Bihan. And Liddell he's still got a clear run. The next car he's got to pass is the number 99 GS car. So he's got a clear run to that, the Automatic Racing Aston. In front of the Aston, there's one of the AMGs in there as well. It's the white car with the blue, just on the back straight now. So it's not a direct run, but the bright lights, all the lights are on for Robin Liddell. Oh, the leader has got through. It's the AMG that got squeezed by Mark Wilkins in turn 17, and Liddell's still got to pass this little group of cars. Leader crossing the line now. Liddell coming out the final corner now. It was 11 seconds last time around across the line. It's 8.3 seconds. Gap first to second. What do we reckon, Jeremy? 2 more laps?
Yes, 3.5 minutes to go. Yes, 2 more laps. It's last lap round he gained 2 seconds on the leader, but now of course Robin is going to work his way past his 2 TCR cars when he catches them. It's as we see now.
Chavez.
Yeah.
Chavez looking for the lead.
He wants to win and the championship.
Mark Wilkins goes to the right-hand side, the defensive side, the track down into the hairpin. 21, the black Hyundai leads. 33, champion-elect in second place. And they have still got their laps to do as well. And they've just been lapped by the leader. So they will know that they are now dictated on by the leader. And when he gets the white flag, which probably will be this time around, and Robin Liddell is going to come up 1 lap or 2 laps short in winning this race for Rebel Rock Racing. Remember, that gap was 30 seconds with 15 minutes to go. 30 seconds with just on 15 minutes to go. Fantastic stuff from Liddell. Really got the best out of the Camaro. Rebel Rock Racing on the podium again. But a great battle between and Liddell pits. Liddell pits. He's short of fuel. He's short of fuel. Surely not. He only stopped 15 laps ago. Liddell's in the pits. There must be a problem there. That's a nailed-on podium finish for Robin Liddell has gone. And, well, explain that one.
Well, all I can think of, John, and this is another problem, is they didn't need a full tank of fuel when they came in to make their final pit stop. There was just over 33 minutes to go in the race, so it was 3/4 of a tank they needed. Did they just not put enough fuel in the car? I mean, he was running flat out, so they would have needed as much fuel as they possibly had. It could be that, it could of course be something else. This battle continues in TCR as they took the white flag then, didn't they? Yes, they did.
Well, I think he's still going to... Oh, is he going to be on the podium? No. Core's gone back through the champions elect. And in fact, he hasn't come out the pits yet. So there's something more fundamental there. Shea might be able to get the word. It is the final lap of the Alan J Automotive Network 120. The final lap of the 2020 Michelin Pilot Challenge season. The championship, both the winners in the championship look like they're going to be on the podium on this race, Jeremy. And Gabby Chavez has got half a lap now to try and find a way around Mark Wilkins, who's won the 12 hours here, of course, so he knows exactly where to put the car to make it difficult for Gabby Chavez. Robbie Foley's going to win by, we thought it might be 5 or 4 seconds, but it's going to be closer to 15 seconds. Liddell has come back out of the pits. Jeremy?
Yeah, well, I was just wondering what happened to Mike Skeen, who was running 5th, would have been 4th.
He's just had a very long lap.
He's just had a very, very slow lap indeed. He has lost a lot of ground on that last lap, so he's fallen now a couple of positions back to 6th for Mike Skeen at number 82 BMW, and actually still a fair way behind him is Sebastian Prio, who's done a really nice job in the number 22 car.
Frank Depew has got into the Rebel Rock Racing car to finish the season. I wonder if that's what that was about. Interesting, very interesting if that's the case. Frank Depew has taken over from Robin Liddell. They've dropped way down to 11th position. Frank is about a second behind the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW at the moment. Checkered flag is out, and Robbie Foley, without his usual co-driver of Bill Oberlin, who I know will be watching, wins for Turner Motorsports. It'll be an all-tackle Sunday for Turner. And across the line, first and second in TCR for Brian Herder Autosport, the black 21 from the champion 33. And we wait now for the number 60 multicoloured Aston Martin, the Core Motorsports Aston Martin Vantage, that comes through to take 3rd in GS and win the championship. And there are a lot, Jeremy Shaw, of very, very emotional people after a season that we never knew what was going to happen at any stage, not least because we didn't know if we were going to get a season. My goodness, what emotion at the end, with both championship winners in GS and in TCR on the podium at the last race of the Michelin Pilot Challenge season.
Yeah, tremendous effort there. Well-deserved overall championship for Nate Stacey and Kyle Marcelli. They're going to come home with a podium finish today as well, just to kind of icing on the cake for that Core Motorsports team. Great job switching. I mean, the Core Motorsports, they've been synonymous with Ford for many, many, many years. Made the switch to Aston Martin, and that has paid off, and it's going to be a championship for them. For Brian Herder Autosport, a second consecutive championship, and honours shared here. Mark Wilkins, last year's champion, will get the win today, but second place for Gabby Chavez, number 33 car, and Ryan Norman will be enough to seal that championship. They finished only 0.2 of a second behind, but they come away with the championship title.
Oh, what a season. What a season. Congratulations to everybody. The entertainment has been outstanding. Shea, I wonder if whilst you're doing everything else, you can just drop a line and just check to see if there was a drive time issue for Frank Depew. I don't think there was, because if there was, they were at the end of the line of everybody who came in, and because of where they'd been on the track, and if they were in trouble, everybody in front of them was in trouble as well. But
it's funny you should mention that, because the representative team member that I reached out to said that they thought Frank might have been a minute or so short on his drive time. But I'm with you. They were toward the back of the line, and there were a lot of cars that came in front of them. So that could be potentially a lot of disqualifications if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely agree. How many, we ask ourselves. We just simply don't know. I don't even know how we sum up the season. Even that race was kept our interest right the way through. Once again, Jeremy, it's been a fantastic season for the Michelin Pilot Challenge and the Alan J Automotive Network 120 here at Sebring. If in some ways a microcosm of the season, we've seen the teams who have done well throughout the season have, for the most part, and take out the 39 Carbon team who had that very uncharacteristic drive line issue with the transmission. But we've seen some great racing today, characteristic of the whole season.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic season of racing in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, no question about it. We've seen some great racing. We've seen, some great battles among the manufacturers as well. It's going to be Aston Martin that will win the drivers and the manufacturers championship. They came in here in the manufacturers there with only a 3-point edge over Mercedes. Audi was right there as well. So it's been a tremendous battle all the way through.
Yes, because the manufacturer's title is, as you might imagine, very important to the marks who take part. It has been, in fairness, Jeremy, I know balance of performance are three dirty words, but in GT4 and also in GT3 and GTLM, IMSA, they do it a slightly different way from everybody else. It's data driven, and my goodness, to take a lot of data. But I think all of the teams this season have had a podium. All of the manufacturers, should I say, have had a podium this year.
Yeah, it's been a tremendous season. It really has. And all of the manufacturers, except for Ford, actually, have got either a pole, a fastest lap, or a win. But Ford's been on the podium. So, it has been a great year. I think they're going to have to do some work over the winter, though, because the Aston Martin, the Audi, particularly here, the Chevrolet was really fast. But, you got to hand it to the drivers. Just looking at the Drivers' Championship, Nate Stacey and Carl Marcelli, of course, clear champions. Tyler McQuarrie and Jeff Westphal will hang on to second place. But Jim Cox and Dylan Murray, with that late pit stop for number 71 car, they will move on to 236 points, and that will be one ahead of Robbie Foley. So that late pit stop for the number 71 car has meant that Jim Cox and Dylan Murray will take third place in the standings by 1 point, I believe, unofficially over Robbie Foley. Jeff Mosing and Eric Foss will fall to the 5th position.
Oh, so that affected other people's races as well, for whatever reason. Fastest lap of the race went to Robin Liddell with a 2:10.933 for GS. It was the Alpha that had the fastest race lap in TCR 2:16.138, and they finished in 4th position in class, just around about 16 seconds away from the podium. And see what happens when we don't mention them. They did get that car to the end of the race. Shea Adam, your thoughts on what we've seen today and the Michelin Pilot season?
Remarkable season in terms of the competition that we've had. TCR, what a fun blessing in disguise that has been. I mean, we haven't had as much variety in terms of the makes in that class, but man, the cars, they delivered on the performances all year long. And GS, Robbie Foley won 3 times this year in 2 different cars. Trent Hinman was on the podium 3 times in 2 different manufacturers of cars. I mean, you just wrap up at the end of the day and sit back and go, yeah, 2020 was a good year.
Absolutely bonkers as ever. I can hear you flicking through some notes, Jeremy. Any more arithmetic that you need to report?
Yeah, in TCR, we've already talked about Ryan Norman and Gabby Chavez with the second place finish today. They wrap up the championship pretty comfortably in the end. They'll have a 21-point edge over Harry Gottsacker and Mark Wilkins, who leap from 4th in the points to 2nd with the pole position and win. They didn't get a point for the pole, but with a win today. And that will bump Mason Philippi and Michael Lewis down to 3rd, but still a tremendous 1-2-3 finish for that Brian Herder Autosport with Kerbag Agonian team.
Brilliant stuff. Hyundai take the Manufacturers' Championship there, of course. That's Brian Herter and the guys doing a great job with those Hyundai Velocitas. Sorry, did you say Aston had taken the Manufacturers' Championship in GS there?
Yes.
Right.
With the second place today, yes.
Right. Sarah Rigby, very happy, didn't even dare tweet in the last few minutes. Well, that was a brilliant event that really summed up the season. Robbie Foley takes the victory. Bill Oberlin will be looking on. Bill, hope you stay fit and everything is good. Well done to the winners, the Hyundais in TCR. And we will, at some stage, get to the bottom of that late stop for the 71 car. Midweek Motorsport on Wednesday, 8 o'clock RS1. Don't go too far away from IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. We still have the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA and the Lamborghinis to end off Fast Friday. But for now, from the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre with Jeremy Shaw and our VP Racing Fuels Pit and Paddock reporter, Shea Adam, I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks very much for joining us for the whole of this brilliant Michelin Pilot Challenge 2020 season. Bye-bye.